Listen closely. The struggle you call addiction is not proof of weakness, and it is not the truth of your nature. I am Shi Heng Yi, and today I want to speak to the part of you that feels trapped, confused, or ashamed. Many people believe addiction belongs to them, that it defines their character. Shaolin teachings reveal a quieter, deeper truth. Addiction is something that attaches itself when the mind is left unguarded. It feeds on distraction, emotional fatigue, and a loss of inner order. This is why fighting it with anger often strengthens it. In this video, you will learn why addiction behaves like an external force, how identity becomes distorted when behavior is misunderstood, and why awareness, not resistance, is the real turning point. You will discover lesser-known insights from Shaolin philosophy about attachment, discipline, and the silent moments where control is either lost or reclaimed. There are ancient observations about the mind that modern discussions often overlook, especially the way unconscious habits slowly replace conscious choice. Stay until the end, because the final lesson may shift how you see yourself forever. It is not about motivation, it is about clarity. When clarity returns, the battle changes shape. The enemy no longer hides inside your identity. It stands exposed. This understanding has guided warriors, monks, and seekers for centuries, not through force but through mastery of the inner world. This channel exists to share that path with you. Welcome to Shaolin Divine Flow, a place for calm strength, self-mastery, and ancient wisdom applied to modern life. Join us by subscribing and continue this journey toward awareness, discipline, and freedom. Silence reveals something most people never notice. I am Shi Heng Yi, and I tell you this with calm certainty: the soul is not fragile. Shaolin philosophy never treated the soul as something weak that needs constant protection. It is energy with structure. It is force with order. When that order is maintained, the soul stands unshaken, no matter the pressure around it. Addiction does not appear because strength is missing. It appears when strength is scattered, moving in too many directions at once. In the Shaolin tradition, energy follows attention. Where attention wanders, energy leaks. A person may feel exhausted, not because life is heavy, but because their inner force is divided. Thoughts pull in one direction, emotions in another, habits in another. The soul remains powerful, yet unfocused. Like a warrior swinging without aim, effort increases, results disappear. This is how addiction finds space, not through weakness, but through disorder. Many believe discipline means restriction. In truth, discipline is alignment. It brings the soul back into formation. When monks trained, they did not chase strength, they organized it. Breath, posture, movement, and silence were used to gather scattered energy into a single point. When energy becomes centered, cravings lose urgency. The mind no longer searches for relief because it feels whole. Addiction often arrives when inner direction is lost. Life continues, but without a clear center. The soul still pushes forward, yet no longer knows where to stand. It reaches for stimulation, not pleasure, but grounding. This is why force alone never resolves the struggle. Pushing harder only spreads the energy thinner. When direction returns, power follows naturally. The soul does not need to be repaired. It needs to be reordered. In stillness, it remembers its structure. In discipline, it remembers its authority. In discipline, it remembers its authority. And in awareness, it begins to move as one force again. The door is never forced open. It is quietly left unlocked. In ancient teachings, the mind is seen as the gatekeeper of the inner world. When it is attentive, nothing enters without permission. When it drifts, influence slips in unnoticed. Addiction does not start with action. It starts with a thought that goes unobserved, repeated, and slowly believed. An undisciplined mind creates noise. Thoughts multiply without order, pulling attention from one desire to the next. This chaos does not feel dangerous at first. It feels normal. Yet over time, constant mental movement creates tension. The body begins to sense this tension as discomfort. The heart interprets it as emptiness. This is how emotional hunger is formed. Not because something is missing, but because the mind never rests long enough to feel complete. Ancient masters taught that what is not governed will seek comfort. A restless mind searches for something to quiet it. Relief becomes more important than truth. Anything that promises calm, pleasure, or escape gains power. The mind begins to associate relief with external sources, forgetting that stillness was once natural. This association is the hook. It is subtle. It disguises itself as choice while slowly becoming compulsion. Inner mastery begins with noticing the first movement of thought, not stopping it, not judging it, simply seeing it clearly. Awareness interrupts the chain before hunger forms. Discipline then strengthens the interruption. Simple practices, repeated daily, train the mind to return to center. When the mind is centered, emotions settle. When emotions settle, the body no longer demands relief. From an ancient perspective, the body follows the mind, not the other way around. Cravings are echoes, not origins. They repeat what the mind has already rehearsed. This is why changing behavior without training awareness often fails. The gate remains open. When the mind becomes still, entry points disappear. Hunger fades without effort. What once felt necessary loses its voice, and the mind, once scattered, resumes its role as guardian rather than invitation. Pain was never the greatest threat in ancient teachings. Attachment was. Pain arrives, delivers its message, and leaves. Attachment stays. It whispers, tightens, and slowly reshapes the way a person relates to life. Shaolin wisdom understood this distinction clearly. Suffering is not born from what happens, but from what the mind refuses to release. Addiction is not devotion to pleasure. It is devotion to escape. The substance, the behavior, the habit itself holds no power on its own. Power is given through attachment. The moment the mind believes relief exists only in one place, freedom narrows. What begins as comfort becomes dependence. What feels like control quietly becomes captivity. Ancient practitioners observed that attachment does not announce itself loudly. It grows in repetition. Each time relief is sought externally, trust in inner stability weakens. The mind forgets how to remain with discomfort. Discipline fades, not through collapse, but through avoidance. This is why attachment is more dangerous than pain. Pain strengthens awareness when faced. Attachment dulls it when followed. Shaolin training never aimed to remove desire. It aimed to loosen its grip. Through stillness, breath, and deliberate action, practitioners learned to sit with sensation without fleeing from it. In that space, attachment loses urgency. The mind realizes that discomfort is temporary and escape is unnecessary. Inner mastery does not demand rejection of the world. It demands correct relationship with it. When nothing is clung to, nothing controls. The same object that once enslaved loses influence when attachment dissolves. The craving fades, not because it was fought, but because it was understood. Discipline restores this understanding. Not rigid discipline, but conscious repetition of awareness. Each moment of non-attachment rebuilds inner authority. Slowly the habit of escape weakens. What remains is presence. And in presence, the silent enemy has nowhere to hide. Vulnerability does not arrive with noise. It enters through absence. When presence fades, something else steps in. Ancient traditions taught that the mind, when left unattended, does not remain empty. It fills itself with impulse. These impulses are not evil or intentional, they are automatic, and addiction feeds on what is automatic. Unconscious moments are the most dangerous, not because of temptation, but because of forgetting. Forgetting the breath, forgetting the body, forgetting the quiet space where choice lives. In those moments, actions happen without permission. Hands move before awareness arrives. Thoughts justify behavior after it has already begun. This is how control is lost, not in struggle but in sleep. Shaolin teachings emphasize presence as a form of protection. Warriors were trained to remain aware, not only during combat, but during rest, walking, and stillness. Awareness was not situational, it was continuous. When awareness remains, impulse weakens. The space between urge and action widens. In that space, freedom exists. Breath awareness is the anchor. The breath is always happening, whether noticed or not. When it is noticed, the mind returns to the body. When the mind returns to the body, impulse loses speed. Stillness does the same. A few moments of conscious stillness restore order to the nervous system. Without stillness, the system searches for release. Addiction offers itself as that release. Presence is not concentration, it is gentle attention. It does not strain or force, it observes. Ancient masters taught that observation alone changes behavior. The moment an impulse is seen clearly, it no longer commands. It becomes an event, not an order. Discipline trains presence to remain even in discomfort, not escaping restlessness, not numbing unease, staying. Each moment of staying strengthens the soul's shield. Over time, unconscious gaps shorten, vulnerability fades. What once controlled now passes quietly. Presence stands, and where presence stands, addiction cannot remain. There is a voice that sounds familiar, intimate, almost convincing. It does not shout, it suggests. It speaks in moments of fatigue, loneliness, or stress. It says relief is necessary. It says this is the only way. Ancient teachings warn that not every voice in the mind belongs to the self. Some are echoes of habit, repetition, and memory. Addiction often disguises itself as guidance. Because it uses the same language as thought, it feels personal. Yet true inner voice is calm, spacious, and patient. It does not rush. It does not bargain. The false voice pressures. It narrows vision. It promises immediate comfort, while hiding long-term cost. Recognizing this difference is a critical step in inner mastery. Shaolin practice emphasizes observation without obedience. A thought may arise, but it does not require action. Hearing does not mean agreeing. The mind can witness without responding. This principle was trained through stillness and disciplined awareness. Practitioners learn to sit with mental noise without moving toward it or away from it. Over time, the noise lost authority. Most people are controlled not by desire, but by identification. The moment a thought is believed to be the self, it gains power. Detachment breaks this link. When a thought is seen as an event passing through awareness, its grip loosens. The urge may remain, but its command fades. This is where mastery begins. Not in suppression, not in argument, but in quiet recognition. The space between hearing and doing becomes wider. In that space, choice returns. Discipline strengthens this space through repetition. Each time the voice is heard and not obeyed, inner authority grows. Ancient wisdom teaches that the mind cannot be silenced by force. It must be understood. The false voice loses strength when it is exposed, observed, and allowed to pass. What remains is clarity, and clarity restores the natural leadership of the true self. Discipline has long been misunderstood. Many see it as restriction, control, or denial. Ancient traditions saw it as something gentler and far more powerful. Discipline was protection. It created a boundary around the inner world, not to imprison it, but to keep it safe from chaos. Without structure, energy leaks. With structure, energy rests. In Shaolin training, daily routines were never optional. Waking, breathing, movement, stillness, and rest followed a rhythm. This rhythm was not about achievement, it was about regulation. When the nervous system knows what to expect, it relaxes. A relaxed system does not panic. It does not chase relief. It stays grounded in the present moment. Addiction often arises from an overstimulated or exhausted nervous system. When inner tension becomes constant, the mind searches for release. Escape feels necessary, not because of desire, but because of imbalance. Discipline restores balance quietly. Simple, repeated actions tell the body it is safe. Safety removes urgency. Spiritual protection is not created through belief alone. It is built through consistent behavior. Each disciplined act reinforces inner stability. Eating at regular times, moving the body daily, returning to the breath during stress. These practices anchor awareness into the body. When awareness is anchored, impulses lose their pull. Ancient masters understood that freedom without structure collapses into disorder. True freedom is supported by rhythm. The river flows because its banks exist. Remove the banks, and the water spreads thin and loses direction. Discipline forms those banks. It allows energy to move without spilling into excess. Inner mastery grows in repetition, not dramatic change, but steady alignment. Over time, the nervous system learns calm as its default state. When calm becomes natural, the urge to escape disappears. What once felt like restraint reveals itself as care. Discipline stands quietly as a guardian, ensuring the soul remains rooted, steady, and whole. Pain carries a message, but when ignored, it becomes a weight. Unprocessed pain does not disappear. It turns inward, pressing silently on the body and mind. The mind seeks escape, the body seeks relief, and the soul feels the tension of stagnation. This is the subtle way addiction begins, not as desire, but as a response to energy that cannot move. Ancient Shaolin wisdom teaches that energy must flow. Movement is the first release. The body, when allowed to express tension through motion, lets the stuck energy find its path. Simple gestures, repetitive practice, even deliberate walking awaken dormant circulation. Breath deepens this process. Each inhale and exhale draws attention into the body, tracing the paths where energy has been blocked. Conscious breathing does more than calm, it directs. It tells the mind and body where to release, and the soul where to rest. Stillness is the final key. Many assume that sitting quietly is passive, but the masters understood its power. In stillness, awareness meets sensation. Pain is observed without suppression. Energy that has been trapped begins to move naturally, without force. This is the practice of allowing rather than resisting. What flows cannot cling. What flows cannot demand. When energy is expressed fully, the compulsion to numb disappears. There is no need to chase pleasure or escape discomfort because the body and mind are aligned, alive, and responsive. Addiction loses its invitation. The mind recognizes that relief comes not from avoidance, but from engagement with what is already present. Discipline in movement, breath, and stillness becomes the bridge between suffering and mastery. Pain remains a teacher, not a prison. Energy flows, the nervous system calms, and the soul returns to its natural rhythm. In this way, the body itself becomes a sanctuary, immune to the traps of unconscious craving, anchored in awareness and freedom. True mastery begins not in struggle, but in presence. Authority over the self is rarely taken through force. It is reclaimed through calm observation and unwavering steadiness. Ancient teachings describe this as the posture of the mountain, immovable, patient, and aware. The mountain does not chase the clouds. It does not resist their passage. It simply stands, and in its stillness, everything else moves around it. Urges are like clouds. They drift in patterns shaped by wind, by weather, by conditions beyond their own control. To fight them aggressively is to become a cloud yourself, tossed, scattered, and restless. Personal mastery is not about eradication. It is about witnessing. The moment an urge arises, it can be observed without attachment. Its intensity may be noticed, its presence acknowledged, but it does not define action. It passes exactly as all fleeting phenomena do. Ancient Shaolin practice trains this through repeated, disciplined exercises. The body is cultivated to respond with precision, the breath to anchor attention, and the mind to remain impartial to passing sensations. In this way, the practitioner experiences a profound lesson. Control is not external, it is internal. The mind that commands itself does not react automatically to impulses. It allows impulses to exist without surrendering authority. Over time, this steady observation transforms character. Urges lose urgency, and desire loses its tyranny. The individual learns that strength is not exertion, but stillness. Power is not action alone, but balanced presence. Each moment spent standing firm, unmoved, teaches the nervous system that calm is safe, that clarity is reliable, and that the soul's command is absolute. To reclaim authority over the self is to remember that the inner world sets the tone for the outer. When the mountain stance is taken within, no storm, craving, or disturbance can uproot the foundation. Urges may pass, but the self remains unshaken and whole. Addiction does not arrive by chance. From a spiritual perspective, it is a teacher disguised as struggle. It tests the depth of awareness, the patience of the mind, and the clarity of self-knowledge. Every urge, Every craving, every restless thought is a mirror, reflecting where attention has wandered and where presence has faded. The challenge is not to resist endlessly, but to see clearly what has been hidden. In ancient practice, tests were never punishment. They were invitations. Addiction functions the same way. It brings the opportunity to witness the mind without judgment, to observe impulses without becoming them. When the mind reacts automatically, the lesson is missed. When the mind pauses, breathes and watches, awakening begins. The same craving that once demanded obedience becomes a signal, guiding attention inward rather than outward. Patience is cultivated through repetition. The mind must learn to endure discomfort without fleeing. The body must learn that it does not require constant stimulation. This endurance is not a battle of force, but a process of alignment. Energy that was scattered, impulsive, or frantic begins to settle. Awareness grows in proportion to the stillness maintained. Self-knowledge deepens in observation. Each time a thought is witnessed, each time a craving is noticed and allowed to pass, insight is gained. Why does it arise? Where does it attach? What part of the self has been ignored? These questions, calmly explored, reveal the subtle architecture of the mind. Awakening does not destroy temptation. It dissolves its control. When attention is fully present, when patience is anchored, and when self-knowledge illuminates the inner landscape, the test disappears. Addiction loses its power, not through resistance but through understanding. The struggle becomes a path, the challenge becomes a teacher, and the mind, once scattered, stands awake, steady and free. The journey back to wholeness begins quietly, in small moments that often go unnoticed. Ancient Shaolin wisdom does not demand perfection. It does not ask the mind to erase every flaw or the body to achieve ideal form. Instead, it teaches balance, the gentle restoration of harmony within. Wholeness is not a destination. It is a way of being cultivated moment by moment, choice by choice. Trust with the self, once broken by distraction, craving, or impulse, is rebuilt slowly. Breath is the first teacher. Each inhalation anchors attention. Each exhalation releases tension. The mind, returning repeatedly to the rhythm of the breath, learns presence. It remembers that clarity is natural and calm is possible. Movement follows. Deliberate, mindful action reminds the body of its strength, its resilience, and its capacity to flow. Each step, each gesture, each posture reconnects energy that was once scattered, restoring the channels through which vitality moves freely. Silence is the final guide. In stillness, the noise of habit and the chatter of desire fade. The mind learns to observe without judgment, to witness without reaction. In this space, inner authority strengthens. Cravings may appear, but their urgency diminishes. The soul, previously restless, finds a rhythm of its own. The path back to wholeness is not dramatic. It is woven from repetition, patience, and gentle discipline. Each day offers the chance to return to breath, movement, and silence. Over time, these practices form a foundation that supports all life. The self, once fragmented, begins to trust again. The body, mind, and spirit begin to move in harmony. Balance becomes a living rhythm. Wholeness is not a reward but a state cultivated through attention and care. The journey is steady, quiet, and profound. Each small practice reconnects what was lost, and each moment of presence restores the soul to its natural grounded strength. Addiction is not your identity. Its power exists only when it is mistaken for who you are. When you learn to observe without reacting, when you become the watcher rather than the victim, that power begins to dissolve. Each moment of calm awareness, each breath taken with presence, strengthens your inner authority and restores balance to mind, body, and spirit. The journey is not about fighting endlessly or forcing change. It is about returning to stillness, practicing discipline, and observing yourself with gentle clarity. Small daily actions, pausing, breathing, moving with intention, and sitting in silence, rebuild trust with your inner self. Over time, the urges that once felt overwhelming lose their grip, and freedom emerges naturally from within. Take this lesson into your daily life. Begin by noticing the thoughts and impulses that arise without identifying with them. Stand firm in your awareness. Allow the wave of desire to pass, knowing that you are the steady presence beneath it. Each moment of observation is a step toward mastery, and each step strengthens the soul. Peace grows when the mind is anchored. The storm quiets when the watcher stands still. This is the path of self-mastery, rooted in ancient wisdom and mindful presence. Thank you for joining us on this journey. If these teachings resonate, remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel Shaolin Divine Flow, where calm strength, inner discipline, and ancient wisdom guide you toward clarity, balance, and freedom.